Hello everyone, welcome back to the episode of Jamie Plays with me, Jamie. Today we're going to be having a look at Star Trek New Horizons and some of the problems that you may encounter, as well as some ways to troubleshoot. So without further ado, let's dive in. If Stellaris has just received an update, but Star Trek New Horizons hasn't been updated yet, that means you won't be able to play the mod until it's been updated to the current version of Stellaris. What that means is that in Steam, you're going to need to go to your Stellaris install, and we need to roll back the version to a game that is playable. So what we need to do is right-click on Stellaris, and then go to go to Properties, and then it will open up another window that looks like this. From here, go to Updates, and this is where it says keep the game always updated. You can change this if you would like, so it only updates manually, so that way when a new version comes out, it doesn't automatically update. What we're actually looking for is betas right here. So betas is a way for the base game of testing out new branches of the game, but there are also old branches and old versions of the game that we can go back to. So let's say, for example, there's just been an update and you want to go back to the previous version. The newest old version is at the very bottom of the list. So what you need to do is scroll down and click on whichever version you would like to do. What happens is that this will reinstall Stellaris, the version that you choose. So for example, this is the 3.6 version. If I were to click that, I would get the 3.6 Orion version rollback. That would be downloaded, and then I would be able to play Star Trek New Horizons. Once an update comes out for Star Trek New Horizons, you would do the same process again. So right-click on Stellaris, go to Properties, and bring up this menu again. You'd go to Betas, and then click on None. So because Star Trek New Horizons would then be at the newest version of Stellaris, we would not need any beta. So we'd want to go back to the main normal branch. If your game is crashing on startup, that probably means that you have an incompatibility somewhere, and we can see that most easily in the launcher. So if you look here, this is your version of the base game Stellaris. So for example, I have Orion 3.6.1. If the current version of Star Trek New Horizons is not compatible, it might be causing this crash. To check that, what you would need to do is go to the workshop, and then go to your subscribed items, and it will have Star Trek New Horizons there, and it will tell you exactly the version at the top that it's compatible with. So the current version is compatible with 3.6.1. My launcher also says that I have version 3.6.1 of Stellaris, so this should run. If these are different, then what you need to do is go and roll back your version of Stellaris, most likely. The next thing to check, so if these are both the same, the next thing to check is your playsets. So in your playset that you need to actually create to launch a mod, for example, I have the Star Trek New Horizons playset. In the Star Trek New Horizons playset that I've created, there should be the Star Trek New Horizons mod, and at maximum, one UI mod. If you have multiple UI mods, that means they are going to conflict with each other, and that could also be causing your crash. So definitely do not use multiple UI mods. At maximum, you should only have one there. You may also have the Star Trek New Horizons music mod, but that is not required to play the game. If both of these previous items are fine, so your playset looks correct, you only have the mod and one UI, as well as the version of both Stellaris and Star Trek New Horizons being the same, then what that most likely means is that you have a problem either with the installation of Stellaris or the installation of Star Trek New Horizons. So what I would recommend is you go back to Steam, go back to your library, and what we're going to do is we're going to uninstall Stellaris, and that will also remove the files for Star Trek New Horizons. You can also do this manually by going into your Steam installation folder, going to the specific mod and deleting all files there. And then what you would do is reinstall Stellaris, go back to the workshop page for Star Trek New Horizons, unsubscribe and resubscribe to that, just to make sure it forces the download again, and then try from there. If you're having a problem where the game seems to be stuck at a certain percentage when loading, there may be a couple of things going on. The first is that, especially if you are generating the game for the first time, it's taking a very, very long time because there is a lot to generate. So if it's going extremely slowly or it seems like it's stopped, first what I'd recommend is think about your normal loading time. So if you've played the game before, how long does it usually take you? For example, if it usually takes you 5 minutes and it's currently been 10 minutes, that might actually still be okay. It might actually still be loading, but very slowly. It could be due to a new version of Stellaris, it could be due to a new version of Star Trek New Horizons, but for some reason it could be taking longer than usual, and that's okay. What I'd recommend in that case, go to the kitchen, make yourself something, in about 20 minutes come back and see what's happening. If your loading time is significantly longer, so for example it takes you 20 minutes to load, give it proportionally as much time, so maybe let's say 40 minutes or an hour. If you come back and it's still not loaded, there could be a couple of issues going on. It might still actually be loading very slowly. Whether you would like to continue and wait and see how long that takes, that's up to you. If it is not, or if you'd prefer not to wait at that point, what you can try and do is uninstall Star Trek New Horizons, uninstall Stellaris, and then reinstall them, as I showed in the last troubleshooting the last point, because it could be that there is a slight incompatibility between the two that's causing something not to load or to cause an error while loading, so it's trying again and trying again and trying again, but rather it's not a big enough problem that would cause Star Trek New Horizons or Stellaris to crash, but for whatever reason it's now causing it to load extremely slowly. So in summary, your two options are either continue waiting or try and uninstalling and reinstalling everything to see if that fixes the problem. In either case, what I would recommend is that you find your most recent save file of the game that you're playing, if you have one, if you're trying to continue a game, and upload that to the server in Discord in the bug forum, which we're about. If you find a bug in Star Trek New Horizons and you would like to report it, the easiest way to do that is go to the Star Trek New Horizons Discord. How you can do that is go to the Star Trek New Horizons workshop page, either in Steam or in your browser. Scroll down to the bug reporting section, so bug reports, and there is both a Google form there and the Discord link. I would recommend clicking on the Discord link. When you do that, it will open up a link that will take you to Paradox. If you have the Discord app installed on your computer, as I do, it will launch this app. If you do not have it installed, you can use Discord directly in your browser, and at this point it will tell you to join this server if you haven't done so already. I'm going to continue to Discord and show you what it looks like in the browser. So this is what it will then look like in your browser. This is the Paradoxical DG community. This is the group that creates and runs Star Trek New Horizons. After agreeing to certain rules, certain terms of use, you will then be able to see all of this information here. When doing so, there is a Star Trek New Horizons community page, or community category, I should say, where you would see all of the chat rooms and the different channels for Star Trek New Horizons. Under this, there are two specific channels that are very important for bugs. There's the Star Trek New Horizons bug chat. This is where people go and report different bugs that they found, or things that aren't working correctly or aren't being read correctly as they should be. And then there is the Star Trek New Horizons bug forum. This is the same as the Google link that was on the workshop page here. So what I'd first recommend you do if you find a bug is to go to the chat and see if anyone else has found the same bug. Rather than scrolling and reading through all of this, what you can simply do is use the search bar here, type in something like model not found, for example, and then press the enter button and search and see, for example, what other people have said, which models have not been found, for example. If you find that people have already spoken about this bug, Or even if they haven't spoken about this bug, what I then recommend is you go to the Star Trek New Horizons bug forum. They will have the current list of bugs that they know about. So for example, if you also have, let's say, the Great House specialization increases starbase capacity, but maintenance increases if it didn't, then what you would do is you would press the corresponding icon here. So if I click that, you would then be able to add that here. If none of these, for example, none of these bullet points are the bug that you want to list, always pinned to the top and also at the very top of the bugs form is the actual Google form itself. If you click on that, you'll be able to give a lot of information about the bug you have. So for example, what kind of issue are you having? How did you find this bug? What kind of steps did you take to find this bug? If this is a bug with an event that's happening, what is the event ID? You can find that in the console within the game itself. A screenshot of the issue, especially via link, so upload it to another service, or for example Google Drive link, and then give it here. Any other mods you have running concurrently, remember Star Trek New Horizons, for Star Trek New Horizons you should really only have that mod, and perhaps a Star Trek New Horizons UI mod, and maybe the Star Trek New Horizons music mod, which is separate. You shouldn't really be running any other mods. However, if you are, please list any other mods that you're running. Were you playing in single player or multiplayer? So playing in multiplayer, yes. If you're playing single player, no. And then also, most importantly, please upload a save file before the issue that you're having, and also afterwards, if you happen to have one afterwards. Especially if this is a game-breaking bug. For example, it causes your game to crash, or for example, you're playing as the Borg and you're trying to assimilate and the assimilation mechanic is not working, so it's game-breaking for the Borg. Definitely upload a save file from before and after you notice the bug, if you have one, but definitely before. And then any other information you would like to give, and then once you've done that, simply click the submit button and you have submitted your bug. If you are having this problem where, for example, you're looking at ships but all you see is boxes, then what this means is that there is a model that is causing some issues in Star Trek New Horizons. It could be one of two things. It could be that there is no model for this ship, or that for some reason the link between the ship data and the ship model has been broken, and therefore the game doesn't know which model to display, so it's showing this weird box-like configuration. There are a couple of possible fixes depending on what is actually causing the problem. The first is to uninstall and reinstall Star Trek New Horizons because something went wrong with your installation, which is the reason why the model is not connected. The second thing is that something's gone wrong on the dev side, so either they had a model and for some reason it, with the newest update or with any other kind of updates that they've created for Star Trek New Horizons, that model connection has been broken. Or it could also be that they've, for some reason, added in the ship, but for some reason the model was not added in. So what I'd first recommend you do is report this as a bug. If the devs or someone comes back and says, yes, this is a known problem and we'll update that in the next release, there's basically nothing you can do. If they come back and say, oh, that's weird, that should be working, you're the only one with this problem, then that means that it is your installation of Star Trek New Horizons. So simply uninstall New Horizons and reinstall it. Quick note, another reason that this could be happening if you're using multiple mods is that there's a conflict between mods. This is one of the reasons why you should not use any other mods besides Star Trek New Horizons and its sister supported mods such as the music mod and one of the UI mods. So it could be because there's a conflict between two mods that is causing this model not to show up. If you're playing the game and it decides to crash at a certain date, the first thing you should do is try and reload from the latest save game and continue playing as though nothing happened. If it again happens, and if it's consistently happening that it is failing on a certain date within the game, what that means is that most likely there is an event that is trying to fire, and for some reason there's an issue with that event. Like with the previous problems that we had, it could either be a problem on the dev side, or a problem on your side with your installation of Star Trek New Horizons. Again, you can report this to the Star Trek New Horizons Discord community through via the bug report. If you do so, please remember to upload the latest save game that you have, the latest one before the problem happens, before this crash happens. What this could mean is that there's something wrong with the event, and the devs need to have a look at that. If it's only happening for you, everyone else is saying, oh, I'm not having that issue, then what I'd recommend is that you uninstall and reinstall Star Trek New Horizons. If you see that it's continuing to happen, another option that you can take to play your game is actually go back earlier in time to a previous save game and continue on. So because these events fire based on probabilities, if you take a slightly different path than what you did, it's quite likely that that event won't fire at that specific date, meaning that you can play the game. So this event could be causing issues again in the future of your game. Unfortunately, just because you've gone from a different save game doesn't guarantee that you won't ever get this event ever again, but it is one way to continue playing. Definitely, in any case, report the bug to the devs so they can look at it and hopefully come up with some sort of solution. If you're playing the game and it suddenly freezes and it's not doing anything, it's not responding to anything, but for example, the game has not crashed yet, what that generally means is that the game is doing a large calculation of some sort. For example, if you're playing as the Federation and you decide to form the Federation, or rather I should say, if you're playing as one of the future member worlds and you decide to form the Federation, the game will pause for potentially a long time depending on how powerful your computer is. The reason is because a lot of things are being moved from the ownership of these various member worlds, or what will become member worlds, to ownership of the Federation. And that's a large amount of data and a large amount of new calculations and everything that needs to be done. This can take, if you have a very powerful machine, it can still take a good 20-30 seconds. If you have a not so powerful machine, it can take anywhere up to a couple of minutes. Also, if you're not playing as the Federation, but this still happens around the time that the Federation may form, that probably means that the Federation has been formed in your game. Again, the only thing you can really do is wait it out. If there's also this event kind of happening at other points in the game, it could also be that there are a lot of calculations going on. For example, the Dominion have decided to declare war against someone, and the war has then ended, and it's now calculating all of the territory that the Dominion has gained, as well as all of the new calculations, for example, of all of the supplies, all of the minerals, all of the alloys, everything that was within those systems. It's then recalculating not only for the Dominion of what they've gained, but also for the enemy of what they've. If you're attempting to load a large or a huge map, even if you have the most powerful computer out there, it's going to take an extremely long time to load these maps, and then once you begin playing, you're going to notice that the game will move significantly slower than if you were playing on a smaller map. This is because there are so many calculations. For every system, there is kind of an exponential number of calculations that need to be done. So let's say you have a small map with 100 systems, then you have the calculations for those 100 systems, all of their connecting systems, as well as as many empires as you have in the map, which of course, because it's smaller, means you have fewer empires. The larger the map, the more connections, the more systems, the more empires, the more pops. All of these things increase the number of calculations needed exponentially, which means that on large or huge maps, it's going to take forever to run, even if you have an amazing computer. Because of that, definitely be patient. You're going to have to kind of take that into account, and your game is not going to run nearly as quickly as on a small or medium map. If you are playing Star Trek New Horizons and an event pops up, or for example at the beginning of the game where several events pop up where you select different setup options for creating the galaxy, if after you select this, or select one of the options, it takes a very long time for it to load. Unfortunately, the only thing you can do is be patient here. The devs, of course, the developers release improvements and fixes whenever possible and try and optimize things, but what these events are doing is either, for example, setting up the galaxy, or they could be a major decision in the politics or the events of the galaxy, and there are a lot of calculations behind that. Basically, the only thing you can do at this point is to be patient. So thank you very much for watching this troubleshooting guide on Star Trek New Horizons. If you have any additional problems that you would like for me to cover in a part 2 video for troubleshooting Star Trek New Horizons, please definitely let me know in the comments, and I will do my best to get another video out as soon as possible. Along with Cornish Ratbeard and other members of the collective, we also have other tutorial videos for Star Trek New Horizons. You can see those both in the description below and linked at the end of this video. Again, I really hope that you've enjoyed this troubleshooting video and that it's been very helpful for you with your problems. If so, please definitely remember to give a like and subscribe, and I will see you next time for another episode of Jamie Plays. Bye for now.